Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
Brought to you by GlanviaConnect.com.
Hello and welcome to Farmview. Well, as usual, it's Kieran O'Connor here with your weekly farming programme. Once again, I have a very busy show for you this week. And on this week's programme, I'll discuss the huge impact of farm payments with sweeping changes to EUs Common Agricultural Policy, the CAP. I'll also discuss how forest owners are warned to know the value of their forestry plantations at this crucial time for the forest industry in Ireland. And plus, I'll hear how the Irish Community Air Ambulance Service are encouraging agribusiness to support its vital service for rural Ireland. And plus, as always, I'll have our farming calendar.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanviaConnect.com. Thousands of products in the palm of your hand.
Well, last week, the Brussels Common Agricultural Policy, one could say the battle is over, because last Friday, actually, the shape of farm payments and schemes for most of the next decade was decided. Well, that's what we think at this stage. And joining us on the line is a man with his fingers very much on the pulse and following this whole Common Agricultural Policy, or CAP talks as they are talking, which are so crucial for the farming and agri sector. And that's Pat O'Toole of the Farmers Journal. Pat, thanks for taking our call.
No problem, Kieran.
Pat, last Friday, effectively, decisions decided. Is this cast in stone, Pat, before we discuss what was decided, or is there still wriggle room within what was announced last Friday?
Well, the deal is over the line. It was agreed between the three pillars, I suppose, of the European political process: the Parliament, the Commission and the Council of Ministers, who were represented by the famous Troika, the three ministers currently holding the presidency. The person who's taken it over in July, and the Germans who held the presidency up to Christmas. So that's the reality of the agreement. The Parliament actually leveraged a lot of their policies through, and then the Council of Ministers met on Monday and Tuesday, and by Monday lunchtime had signed off of this week, and by Monday lunchtime had signed off on the deal. So it's done.
Right.
But there are flexibilities within the agreement to be decided at national level.
Pat, for many farmers, a lot of farmers in Ireland, it would mean a cut in direct payments from anything between 30 and 60%. Very few will be significantly better off. And also, there's really a loss of 300 million to the eco scheme. So all of a sudden, the eco schemes or the greening agenda is becoming a huge part of it. But in general, most farmers will be dropping between 30 and 60%. That's
if you take in the basic payment, which I suppose at the moment counts for the whole 1.2 billion of Pillar 1 payment. The first thing we know off the top is that 25% of that, 300 million, is being taken away from direct payments and put into the eco schemes fund. We are sketchy yet on exactly how that money will be distributed back to farmers, but there will be net gainers and net losers out of that. But the reality is that what was money which arrived in every October, once you satisfy the cross-compliance criteria, now farmers will have to stretch a lot further for that money through the eco scheme. So it won't be income per se, but money which will be linked to farm investment and improvement of the environmental status of the farm. So that's the first thing. So when you take that 300 million out, it means that there's only 900 million left to go around, and within that there's further ambition in terms of convergence, where higher entitlements will be cut to pay lower entitlements. There's the possibility of front loading, which would be where 10% of money is set aside. That'll be another 120 million to be paid out on, for instance, the first 10 hectares of everyone's holding, which would again transfer money from larger holdings to smaller holdings. So there's going to be a lot of movement of money, and the reality is a lot of money will move out of a county like Waterford, which has higher than average payments at the moment. In fact, the highest average payments in the country. Most
farmers' point of view, particularly the smaller, the dry stock farmers, who are literally utterly dependent on the Common Agricultural Policy, of that check in the post. And then, of course, we have the whole area of active farmers and young farmers. So breaking it down into categories, the small guy here, or let's say the guy who is dependent on the Common Agricultural Policy, on that check in the post, they're really going to be most affected here, are they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether you go by the National Farm Survey, which Teagasc run, or the CSO figures, or the IFA's own income assessment for the end of each year, we know that the vast majority of the net income that dry stock farmers have is related to direct payments. So a cut in a dry stock farm direct payments is a cut in his income. Tillage farmers, about between 50 to 70% of their income comes from direct payments. Dairy farmers, 38% and falling. Dairy farmers are less dependent in terms of their net income on direct payments. But having said that, a lot of new and expanding dairy farmers have very challenging repayment schedules, and if milk price was to fall, the buffer of a decent direct payment is very, very important in their business model. So that's going to be an issue as well.
I'm sure from the European point of view, both Parliament and Commission, really, they are the big winners here. And I suppose really from an Irish point of view, we're so dependent on agriculture and the agri-industry as an industry to the country. We are going to be the big losers here.
Definitely. In terms of politically, Parliament won the day. I think that the initial, if you go back to 2018 when we engaged on the discussions around a reform, it looked like it was going to be a light reform. Phil Hogan was the Ag Commissioner at the time, and he talked about evolution. Of course, the challenge of climate change has come front and centre on the agenda, and the requirement for environmental payment became unanswerable, I suppose. And of course, it has to be remembered that this is all happening separate to, but in parallel with the Climate Action Plan, the Climate Action Bill, which was passed this month in our Parliament. Domestically, we're going to have sectoral targets for farming. That's going to be a tall ask. So effectively, we're meeting climate challenges with the existing cap budget. There's no new money for the new challenges. So a dilution of the basic payments, which are linked, I suppose, historically to production and to the entitlement ownership and land ownership, a dilution of those payments was inevitable, and that's what's happened.
And Pat, really, farmers, and we've said it several times over the last few weeks and months, talking about cap and what's coming down the track, farmers are going to be asked to do more to get less. And there's 300 million in the eco schemes. This is where it's all going to be at for the farmers. To get that extra payment, they'll have to go through hoops and loops. Indeed, most of them, I must say, and fair play to a lot of farmers, are taking on board what needs to be done, but this is where the payment are going to depend on for them, these eco schemes.
Yeah, and there's a huge amount of measuring to be done. We have the signpost programme within Teagasc. Unfortunately, the problem is the clock is ticking, and we're going to have the new system of payments will come in 2023. We have the interim payments for this year and next year, which are based on the old model, apart from a cut in payments across the board of a couple of percent, because the budget is reduced, there'll be no impact. But in 2023, the new model will come in. So all that measuring and all that assessment of the environmental status of farms in terms of the eco schemes, which will be done on a point system, a fair idea that farms will be evaluated on a points basis in terms of the status of biodiversity, of the likes of hedgerows and areas of biodiversity like little groves and woodland, in terms of the quality of the soil and status of it, the carbon output of the farm, the air quality and the water quality. So those are going to be the kind of criteria that the eco schemes payments will be based on. And what we expect is that there will be a combination of incentivised schemes and also payment as a reward for the current developed environmental status of the farm. So farms of high nature value will be recognised and rewarded for their effort. That's all broad sketching. There's a huge amount of detail to be determined yet, and as you know only too well, the devil is in the details.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It'll be a process of evolution over the next couple of years.
Well, Pat, once of all to you and to all at the Farmers Journal, indeed, for keeping everybody updated. It's a very complicated issue. It's a very important issue, our Common Agricultural Policy. 2023 is the deadline. As you said, the devil will be in the detail, and I'm sure we'll be keeping updated on that over the next few crucial months. Pat O'Toole, Irish Farmers Journal. Thanks as always, Pat, for taking our call. We'll talk to you in the near future. Well, Waterford forest owners are being warned that they should obtain full value of their investments. To discuss this, we are joined by Tom Hickey from Stradbally. He's Secretary of the Waterford Forest Owners Group. Tom, obviously you've sent out this notice, and really it's a very important one for forest owners.
Yeah, it is. Forestry is at an all-time high. I have to believe it, but there's a world scarcity of timber. It isn't just the issues here in Ireland that's driving the price of it. And while the price now has gone up, it's gone up about 70% clear fell sawlog since before Christmas. And we don't think it's going to fall. There's so much building going on. The demand is there, and there's not enough timber. We're only at, I think, about 10 or 11% of planted in Ireland, and they want to be around 30% to be self-sufficient. Yeah. So we're a long ways off. We're concerned now the most important thing would be the people that have timber, that they get the value for it. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of investment. Like, it takes 35 years for Sitka spruce, maybe another year too long to get the full value. And so, like, you get one shot at it. Make the best of it. That's what I would say to people like that.
Now, in the 80s and 90s, Tom, there was an explosion. A lot of people got involved, a lot of private companies got involved, and a lot of planting took place in Waterford and the South East. So obviously they're coming to fruition now.
Yeah, it's all coming in now together. And one of the challenges is we're first generation. And when people come to somebody's house knocking at their door, so to speak, buy their forest, people don't know the value. They just don't know the value. They're selling a K for a bale of silage. They know the value. Yes. They know the value for this. And that's why we're asking people, if someone come to your house, to a forest to see your office to buy, get in writing and go to somebody and have a chat. Let it come to our group, any of us, we put you in the right direction, or to tag us, they're brilliant in there to know where you're getting the value. Always remember that it's a once-off opportunity. Don't miss on it. You won't get second opportunity.
And Tom, you put your finger on it there. When you set corn in early spring, if I was setting spring barley, my harvest is the following September. This is 30 years. It's a lifetime.
It's 30 years. It's 30 years. And beside there, we have one, this is amazing, there's 1 hectare, one forest plant harvest harvesting the last week, and it actually valued out at 48,000 euros a hectare. So it's just
48,000
48,000 for the hectare. So it was just a fantastic crop. It's one of those crops you like looking at. It was done right the whole way up, just tinned properly. The people that done it all the way through, they done it.
It was maintained and managed.
It was done with the long-term view. They wasn't in for the quick kill. They looked after the interest on that, and that's the way to go.
And as regards, you mentioned the price there, a huge price, but what's the average at the moment, say for Sitka spruce, or what type of money?
Sitka spruce now, say that's not mature. We had a clear field there the last week, and the value about something short of 15,000 an acre.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah.
As regards the demand, obviously there's huge demand. Ireland importing an awful lot of timber, and with the whole problem with licences and that. It's a supply and demand game as such, but really the demand out there for quality timber, Irish grown timber, is huge.
Yeah, the challenge is not only the mess that I call it for the licences here, it's a world shortage. We see there the last year or two the numbers of fires in Australia and different places. There's a massive amount of forest being burned down. Argentina, Brazil, they took down so much forest, all they wanted to put in was grass for cattle. There's less and less land being planted. We're about a third of the way there in this country. The demand is going to continue. People are not using coal anymore. They're more timber. That's where it's going. And also for the environment. Now, people don't understand this, that there's some of us here in the county, we are carbon neutral at this stage, and we're not getting the value for it, or the credit for it, but that's the way it's going here.
And carbon credits, as you say, is so important. And a lot of people who got involved in forestry, and people frowned at people putting land, as they felt, into forestation. It's very attractive. There's guaranteed premium, there's grants, and of course you're helping the environment.
You're helping the environment. It's a win-win. Helping the environment, but it's also, once you get it established, it's an easy way. You just have, it goes itself. Get it past the first 2 or 3 years, it goes itself, and it's value. That's what I'm going back at the whole time. It's the value. It's only going one way. It might be a little blip now and then, but the market is getting bigger and bigger. Now, you only have to go in to buy stakes for fencing this week. You can see the prices the way they're going up already. Building houses, everyone see the cost. Part of that is timber is scarce, and they're using more and more timber, and the demand is there.
Tom, for guys out there, obviously there's several enterprises that are struggling as regards decent margins for farmers.
Yes.
What would be your advice for guys contemplating getting involved in forestry? Where should they go for advice, and indeed what would you say to them? Because there was a bit of a stigma attached to people turning, as I say, ground into forestation.
Yeah, the way I answer that one now, Kieran, anybody that is a mature crop ready for clearfill worth over 40,000 hectare, there's no stigma there, and that
answers that. Yeah.
And they're proud of it.
Yes.
But we're all slow to change, and it's a slow process. Getting the message across to the younger people now and show them the value of it. And not only we'll be very strong for farm and forester. I'm not called farm and forester. I mean not just the conventional farmer, but someone like yourself, a media man, a teacher, a working someplace else. They'd have their few acres too. And see, the average size in Europe.
So part-time farmers is ideal.
Ideal for them, and they might have no other interest in farming other than the forest. Now in Europe, the average size for forest is 7-8 hectares, 10 to 1,000 acres, to 100 acres. They're getting more and more people involved in it, and they have a different system there now. They're not going for a clear field, they're going for continuous cover. Do you know what I mean? And
so Tom, isn't there huge potential for it? And as I say, while the stigma has been there, and I think thankfully it is diminishing big time.
Yes, it is.
But as regards, it's guaranteed premium.
It is.
It's a detractive grant to help you plant it. So really, it's a win-win. It's an area people should explore more, literally.
They should, and they are doing it there more. Long term, it's so positive, even for transferring property to a family. It's just more or less tax free, and we want to pass on the few barber later on in your life to the next generation. Put it into forestry, and it'll be tax free. Like the timber will be tax free. Like, you know.
Well, Tom, to you and all involved in the Waterford Forest Owners Group, you're doing great work, and I think your press release saying that forest owners should obtain full value of their investment. It's so key, and for anybody out there, get advice from the experts. The advices out there are from the Waterford Forest Owners Group, because you're sitting on a very valuable asset.
Of course you are, and there's plenty of advice there. Tigers are brilliant. If you want to contact yourself, we'll put you in the right direction, and we will be part of the Irish wood producers to a business southeast for the marketing, so we know the value of it. We're getting it first hand. We're getting it first hand. Tom
Hickey, Secretary of the Waterford Forest Owners Group. Tom, thanks for taking this time out to talk to us, and listen, best of luck in the future.
Thank you, Kieran. Thank you. You're welcome.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
Brought to you by GlanviaConnect.com.
And you're welcome back to part 2 of Farmview. Now, before we'll hear all about the Irish Community Air Ambulance Service plea to the agribusiness to support their vital service for rural Ireland, let's have a look at some items from our farming calendar. First of all, turning to our marts, great to see the marts back up and running, of course, with ringside buyers and indeed great support every week to our local livestock marts. This Saturday morning, Wafford Ross Mart in New Ross, cattle sales from 9:30, calf sales from 10, while on Monday it's Dungarvan Mart's weekly sales with calf sales from 10:30 and cattle sales from 11. And remember, all sales are also online now at livestocklive.com. Now, turning to our markets, and what an array of farmer markets and country markets we have around our city and county, with fabulous produce available daily right across the city and county. This Saturday morning, Wafford Farmers Market, John Roberts Square, Tramore Farmers Market, Priest Road, Tramore, and also, of course, on Saturday morning, Strably Farmers Market every Saturday morning from 10 until 1 in the beautiful village of Strably. Sunday, Lismore Farmers Market, Castle Avenue, Lismore, picturesque setting every Sunday in Lismore from 10 until 4. Ardmore Farmers Market back up and running just off the beach car park every Sunday from 11 to 3 every Sunday in Ardmore. On Thursday is Dungarvan Farmers Market, Grattan Square, Dungarvan every week, every Thursday morning from 9 until 2. While on Friday mornings you have 2 country markets in Dungarvan. You have Dungarvan Country Markets at the Scouts Den in Abbeyside from 9 until 1. While in the city we have Wafford Farmers Market in St Olave's Hall running every Friday from 9 until 1. On the show jumping front, the Shannakill House Equestrian Centre is very popular unregistered summer pony leagues are up and running in great attendances every Friday. They continue every Friday from 5 with the finals planned for the end of August.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com, Ireland's biggest online farming shop and more.
Well, the Irish Community Air Ambulance launched a campaign to encourage agribusiness to support its service. It's inviting more than 400 companies to become supporters of Air Ambulance, a very good charity indeed. And joins on the line is a board member of the Community Air Ambulance, and that's Colm Eustace. Colm, welcome to our programme.
Thanks very much, Kieran. Delighted to be on the programme.
Colm, the background, the Irish Community Air Ambulance, the idea of it, when was it set up? And obviously we all know about the National Ambulance Service, but you might give us the background to why we have the Irish Community Air Ambulance.
Yeah, Kieran, the Irish Community Air Ambulance is a helicopter medical service based in Rathcoole, Mallow, County Cork. And as the name suggests, it's a helicopter air ambulance service that can put a 25,000 square kilometre area within 30 minutes of critical care in one of the critical care hospitals. It's founded in 2019, so it's new. It does approximately 500 call-out missions per year. They're all critical ones. It's an organisation that works hand in glove with the state agencies such as the National Ambulance Service, as you mentioned, and it mirrors a very successful Welsh and Scottish model. So it's local, Kieran, and it is an organisation, a charity that is funded exclusively by donation. So as you mentioned at the top of the programme, we're launching an appeal this week to Ireland's agri-businesses. We feel it's a charity that aligns very closely with the agri-business customers and the communities that support them. So
obviously the rural,
Kieran.
Yeah, and as you mentioned there, the farming, the agri, the rural community, these are the people that when unfortunately you have an accident, and unfortunately we've had too many serious accidents on farm, and we know from our own family indeed the importance of air ambulance as regards getting somebody critically injured to hospital ASAP. As regards that, the fact it's rural, the fact that it's affecting the farming community, sure you'll get good support from them because it's really a rural based charity.
Yeah, absolutely, Kieran. Obviously if you're living in a rural part and there is a very unfortunate accident, there is what the medical people talk about, a golden time period to get care. And you know, if you're in a remote rural area, and actually 18% approximately of the call out missions are farm related. So if you're in a remote rural area, you have to hold within the critical time period of getting care, unless you have the service. One air ambulance based in Mallow can put a very substantial territory within 30 minutes of critical care, and it works, as I say, hand in glove with the National Ambulance Service. So there's a decision-making process at Central that is in conjunction with the
making that vital call,
Air Ambulance Service, you know, to decide whether there's a need for the helicopter service.
And obviously, Colm, the cost involved, everything like this costs a lot of money. What type of costs are involved with having a helicopter based, as you say, in Rathcoole, just outside Mallow? The type of costs involved, and the annual cost of running such a crucial service now at this stage?
Yeah, our annual cost, Kieran, is about 1.6 million euros. So each call out is costing about 3,500 euros, and we're totally charity funded at the moment. Probably in time we would like some government support, but we do feel, this doesn't have to be a totally state funded operation. There are plenty of examples where local community funded services, work very well. As I said, the model mirrors very, very closely very successful operating models in Scotland and Wales. We do need that money, Kieran, and so that's one of the core groups we're campaigning, looking for money, and we're starting this week is the agribusinesses of Ireland, as you mentioned at the top of the show.
It's staggering what you said, that you responded to almost 500 calls in a year. That's a huge number, and then to hear that the large majority from them, unfortunately from an agri and farming point of view, are from farm accidents. That's a staggering statistic, and really it shows the importance of this air ambulance service.
Yeah, absolutely, Kieran. Obviously the organisation works closely with the farm safety people as well, to highlight the last thing any farm wants to see is one of these air ambulances, visiting the farm. So obviously precaution is the first step. There is an inevitability, and unfortunately, as you say, 18% of the call-outs made this year so far have been farm-related. So farming is a dangerous occupation.
Of course.
As you know, Kieran, you've been involved with this for all your working life, and it is one of the more dangerous occupations. And unfortunately, when a farm accident happens, it's invariably in a remote rural area. Far from the critical care centres in Ireland,
Yeah. So as regards the agribusiness and the appeal that you've out, everybody involved, and particularly down here in Waterford in the South East, a huge number of agri-food companies, both in the hard agricultural feed, fertiliser, across the board, seed companies to food companies. And your appeal is for all the agri-food businesses in the region, come and support. How can they get in contact with the Irish Community Air Ambulance organisation?
Yeah, over the next number of days we'll be writing to them all, Kieran. We'll be putting out our proposal, and we'll be encouraging them to respond and to reply to us. It will be a process over the next number of days.
Colin, fair play to you and all involved. As a member of the board of the Community Air Ambulance, I think it's a fantastic initiative. I'm delighted to hear the success you're having, and indeed I know the agribusiness and food business won't be found wanting to support this crucial organisation. Indeed, as you say, at a cost every year almost 1.6 million, the money is badly needed. Colin Eustace, thanks for taking the call. Best of luck with the Irish Community Air Ambulance, and keep in touch with the ongoing fundraisers, and we'll only be delighted to promote.
And thank you very much, Kieran, for having us on the show.
And before I go on the racing front, good week again for local Waterford connections cross-channel. Dungarvan-born trainer Dennis Coakley had a nice winner during the week at Windsor, while it's that young man again, Dungarvan rider Trevor Whelan, who's on a great run at present. Trevor had a winner earlier in the week when he had a lovely winner at Chester, and followed up with a brilliant double at Bath during the week as well. So well done to Dungarvan jock Trevor Whelan. Keep up that great form cross-channel. Also good news on the home front. The 2021 Godolphin Stud and Stable Awards were announced earlier in the week. Very prestigious awards, with 2 awards going to Waterford. Emmett Raher, head lad at Henry de Bramant Stable, he captured the Horse Care Award, a brilliant achievement for Emmett, while the Race Course Award, it's chosen by the Irish Stable Staff Association. It went to Tramore, who were commended for the huge effort to mark the track to facilitate and support stable staff during the COVID-19 pandemic. So well done to Owen Byrne and all the hard-working staff at Tramore, and the directors as well. Fabulous achievement for Tramore. Well done to all involved. Well, that's it for this week's programme. Once again, my thanks to Ollie and Sean for all their help in putting this week's programme together. So stay safe, keep up the protocol, and hopefully I'll have your company again same time next week.
Farmview with Kieran O'Connor on WLR.
With GlanbiaConnect.com, Ireland's biggest online farming shop and more.